All right, welcome to today's edition of Chat Circle. Our discussion centers on one of the most pressing debates of our time, artificial intelligence in the workplace. Is it truly a threat to jobs or a tool to reshape how we work for the better? Now, from emails drafted by AI to job applications screened by algorithms and also even classrooms enhanced by digital tutors, AI has actually moved from science fiction to everyday reality. But what does this mean for workers, industry, and the future of employment, especially right here in Nigeria? Our guest today is someone deeply at the heart of this conversation. I'm talking about Venn Oputa, who also happens to be the Chief Intelligence Officer at the Pluto Labs, a Lagos-based AI automation and also agent creation platform. He also leads the development of AI solutions for businesses and also startups, driving both innovation and efficiency. Previously, Venn also contributed to automation frameworks for startups such as Rustify and through the Pluto's Lab Academy. He also actively mentors emerging AI talents, a passionate advocate for African technology. He was also a speaker at the 2023 TechNext conference, where he emphasized the power of empowering technology. With his experience and insight, Venn also positions Pluto's Lab as one of the leading voices in Africa's growing AI ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, Venn in the house, how are you doing?
Hi, Nana.
Hi, good to have you on our show.
Happy to be here today, man. And thanks for the introduction.
You're
I feel
welcome.
like Prince
All right,
Charming,
so
right?
first thing, I think a lot of us really want to know what Plato's Lab is all about. Can you tell us a little bit about the academy and also the lab?
So to just keep it simple, right? A lot of what we do at Pluto's Labs is engineered at preparing Nigeria and Africa as a whole for the whole artificial intelligence economy. So we create agentic systems to really just simplify business processes at a lower cost, right?
Okay.
So whether it's replacing, and I don't want to come off like I'm actually replacing human jobs, but just making it easier for the average, tailor who would need to like pay a lot to get like a a model,
Yeah.
right? Or, to put on outfit, but to replace that with AI systems that make it faster and cheaper. So our goal ultimately is really just to improve the lifestyle of businesses and just the economic power generally in Nigeria.
How's the journey been so far?
Well, to be honest, there's, the first thing you're battling with is consumer behavior and just the fear of this technology doing the right thing every time. And so what we've had is resistance at that point, but we've also gotten a whole lot of, people who are, forward thinking to actually see the potential of this. And I can brag that a whole lot of businesses we work with, right? And even industries are looking at their books and thinking, why didn't we do this early enough? Because the cost integration is just amazing long term.
Okay. All right. So today, just as our conversation, AI in the workplace, threat to jobs or tool for growth, which I'm super excited about this conversation because I feel like a lot of people are looking forward to knowing a whole lot in this. And some of us are looking like, okay, job safe? Are we safe? Are we good? Are we going to be competing real soon? So I remember when artificial intelligence actually sounded like pure science fiction, something we only saw in movies. But today is drafting our emails, is screening our job applications, even helping students in classrooms. So the question is, how did AI move so quickly from being futuristic to becoming part of our everyday life reality?
I think we have to just look at the past of like what has happened in recent times, right? There's been, and this is important, right? Because we need to also bring the conversation to Africa and the steps we need to take. There's been a whole lot of investment put into computational power, right, and electricity in a very short while. And what that has done is that, and when you think about industries, money really just follows where a new belief system comes in, that people are convicted that this is the way to go. And that belief system sort of goes into an economy. And so this has been a result of several, patterns that have occurred over time. Like what we now live in an era where most of our lives are and our data are online. Like we literally have friends online, we literally interact online. So what has happened, right, is that huge investment into computational power, existing data, because for a while we had this term big data, and that was just companies crunching a whole lot of data really fast. That has now been exposed to an intelligent system to really just make decisions. And the beauty about this is that what would have been a huge barrier for entry for most people is if it was expensive. It was free. To use AI models like ChatGPT and Gemini, at the base level was totally free. So there was no barrier to entry for the average man to really just get in at that early stage. And one of the things, in comparison to other industries, AI is not necessarily like it integrates fully into our existing system. It doesn't try to remove an existing system. It's like how you had the monetary system of cowries, and now you have to put in cash, and now we have like a digital front where we have to remove cash to have zeros and ones. AI just integrates seamlessly into our day-to-day operations. And thankfully, because it's a race, just globally to see who really just takes advantage of, who just really builds the best system that will empower their economies and countries. That has also driven it. So just a few things: computational power, lives have been on the digital rails for a while. Use cases are evident and clear, and free open models, from DeepSeek, OpenAI, to Gemini. Like it's just there.
Okay, now for a lot of people, immediately you say AI, first thing that comes in mind is robots and all that. Now, in simple, relatable terms, what are the most common ways AI is already sitting in our workplaces without us even realizing it? I know you shared ChatGPT as one of them, but other ways, what is it like? I just want to know more.
I think let me start with something that maybe is currently happening in the industry. So a lot of people take loans, right? And if you've taken a loan from like a fintech, right? So what these companies are doing, rather than getting a whole lot of people to call, because to get that loan back, you need to pay a certain cost to retrieve your money. So rather than finding a whole lot of people to make that calls, because you might have a million people owing you. What people are using are voice-based AI agents to call, at a cheaper cost, to call you, concurrently. Like if you're owing a company like that, you're probably going to receive about 50 calls. And imagine you had somebody like customer care representative always doing that. Here you have a worker that doesn't sleep. So that literally is happening. A lot of what we've also seen, right, is that automated media, right? So media content. So now we have content that can easily be localized. So we don't necessarily always need someone that understands all the languages, because an AI intelligent system can actually replace that. So it's easier to reach, unserved and undeserved locations with content and news, which is very important. And then the same thing it will go as well, for education as well, right? Is that we don't have to put pressure on tutors to learn local languages to allow the kids understand what they are talking about. Because first of all, we are Nigerians. We have we have a large ethnic, diverse society. So we want to be able to reach people in the best possible form and in the language they understand. Even just as you explained, even just resume, customer service bots, right? Which is a lot, saves time and energy, right? The solopreneur that doesn't have money to really just hire hands to really just answer a lot of customers, can simply just have an agentic system come in and take that away. So really just these little things, right? The low-hanging fruits that has been a headache, especially for societies at large, is AI is currently replacing that, at where we are.
Okay, so off the records, let me take us a little bit back to 2020 during the COVID period. Okay, would you say that most of the things we predicted started happening more around that period, but let's just say workplaces and offices were not really ready for it? Would you say COVID actually brought a lot of these things into reality?
So yes, so COVID did the one major thing, right? It made us sort of realize that we can be effective without moving around, right? So economies can still operate without being present in several locations, and that changed a whole lot of consumer behavior, especially maybe even just locally in Nigeria, because we've moved from an era where we were skeptical about buying things online to everybody purchasing. So COVID was a black swan event, but led to really just created the roadmap of where we are, whereby we are more acceptable to an easier form of doing work, right? And that just makes everything seamless, right? That just makes several levels of technology actually work. You know, you need people to change habits sometimes. You know, things to just work seamlessly. That's the honest truth.
So, according to the World Economic Forum, actually once estimated that by 2025, AI and automation could actually displace 85 million jobs worldwide, but also create 97 million new roles. Now, to you, do you actually think that we should focus more on the loss or on the opportunity side of this prediction?
So, so the thing about me, right? I'm optimistic in nature. You know, I like to always look at the good side and also prepare people about what is to happen. And so while yes, it looks like we're going to lose 85 million jobs, we're also going to gain 97 million, right? So when we do the math, there's a plus, there's a plus towards that. But ultimately, when we look at like just according to Mastercard's 2025 report, right? The AI market in Africa is about to grow from 4.5 billion USD to an estimated 16.5 billion by 2030. So what that means is that there's about to be a wealth of inflow and growth within the market that we need the skills and preparation for. So yes, we might lose a couple of jobs, but think about it this way, right? Just before the printing press, imagine scribes complaining that, printing, we're going to start printing, what will happen to us that write? But when we look at the long term, printing has led to us sharing information to the point where we're now harnessing that information with AI. And that also created a new layer of jobs. So yeah, I like to think I'm optimistic in nature. Right. The truth is that this will happen, but we want to focus on maximizing the opportunities. We want to look at what are the new roles, what are the new industries.
How ready are you?
Exactly. And mitigating the losses by, just via upskilling, moving people from point A to point B being a better place, right? Creating social safety nets and ensuring that no group or no particular gender is left behind within this. So I think it's very important that we really pay attention to what can be rather than what we will lose.
Okay. All right. I want us to take it all the way back to 2018 when Dolce & Gabbana actually shocked the fashion world with drones and models carrying their handbags somewhere around Milan runway. You understand? Now, fast forward to today. AI is already writing songs, is painting pictures, is even designing clothes. I can even say photographers because, okay, for the photographers part, I saw that recently where I got to know that ChatGPT could actually edit your pictures and make it look like a photographer even did everything. You understand? Now, did we see this creative disruption actually coming? And what does this mean for the future of industries built on human imagination?
So here's one thing I believe. The human imagination is the most powerful resource in life generally. It's the most powerful resource in life generally. And what we would see is how people who necessarily did not have the talent to whether sing or take photographs find ways to use artificial intelligence with their hard work to compete with, let's say, the artists who could sing. So it might actually create a level playing field, right? So, and that might be scary to the people who, like, oh wow, I'm this talented.
It was scary for me. It was scary for me, that 2018. Seeing drones model. I wasn't a model, but I was worried. It was scary.
But I think so. I recently joined the community by Mr. Obina Okeriokocha, right? He's doing something, the Nigeria AI Film Festival. And
Oh yeah, I think I saw that online.
just being in this WhatsApp group, I saw somebody create a music video that was supposed to spearhead a campaign for the Abia State governor, right? And I was amazed, right? Not necessarily because of, the whole thing in itself, but the fact that somebody who maybe 5 years ago wasn't able to do this, right? But now has the tools and resources to compete at that level. We're looking at really just a revolutionary technology, right? And so we should not necessarily always, and like I said earlier, we don't want to think about the losses. We're going to see new ways. We're going to see new entertainers. We're going to see new creators doing things with their imagination, but harnessing this tool in a very different and magical way.
Okay, so a few months ago, right here in Nigeria, we actually witnessed a huge milestone from one of our sister stations that actually launched the first ever AI news anchor. That was a little bit scary for me too. So some actually called it groundbreaking, while others actually worry it would push broadcasters out of work. Now, do you see this as a threat to human jobs in media, or a tool that could actually reshape the industry? And what is your candid opinion about that? I don't know if probably you saw that or you researched on that, but what is your candid opinion?
Oh yes, I saw that, right? And I welcome it. Like, so for me, like, if you look at my past and my history, I've always been pushing, frontier technology. So maybe I might be biased in this, but I also look at the opportunity here. But here's one thing I understand, right? And I'll talk about the opportunities, but I want to make something clear. Your identity is going to be the most valuable asset you have going forward in an artificial intelligence economy, right? So meaning that while you might not necessarily always be the anchor in front, but your voice and your look may be. And you're going to be paid for that intellectual property because that's who you are and whatnot, right?
So I didn't think it that way, though. I didn't think it that way.
Yes, like I think like you have to, like what you're doing at the helm of it, right? By the time if we say AI is taking everything, they can't take your identity, or even if they do, there will be ethical and ways to go about the law to ensure that your identity is your profit. Right. But when we look at the opportunities, it's the same thing, right? We could be talking now and we have an AI system that is translating us in different languages, in hitting maybe the Edo culture, Esa, or hitting, Kanuri, like hitting local dialects at the deepest levels while we're talking in English. And that in my thinking is a miracle, right? It's a biblical miracle of, the Pentecost, right? So, and this is amazing. Like, so also we're going to have where newsroom can focus more on investigative human stories, right? There's a whole lot more time to do more research on which stories really matter, rather than people just coming in online and talking about the weather forecast of today, so it will free a lot of your time to be more productive if we look at it. Yes, there's the front view, but like I said, and I spoke earlier about this, the printing press age, scribes were worried about printers. You would adapt. You have to adapt, right? But ultimately, the editorial roles, just those high age roles within the media will still be needed. Like, there's something we do, right, with systems we build. We add a function called human in the loop. So what that means is that by the time everything is going through, before it gets to the end consumer, a human looks through it and says, oh yeah, this is what I want. So I think that would be also very important even at the media stage.
Okay, let's bring it down home. In a country like Nigeria, where unemployment is already high, how do we actually make AI, how sure should AI widen the gap? But instead create inclusive opportunities for everyday works?
So I think, for this, right, I think I'll start with lobbying the government with the new policy on introducing artificial intelligence and robotics into schools, right? I think that's the right way to go. I give credit to them. So some of the things we will need to really just pay attention is, first of all, the digital infrastructure. We cannot emphasize how much more, and this we might either work as a nation of Nigeria or come together as Africa and solve this problem. We would need, better internet supply. We would need more data centers across ports, right? This is just to make sure that this connectivity reaches rural areas. It is now important, right? We might need our own Starlink, right? That reaches where the internet coverage reaches people at different sets. Another thing I think is important is skill. So Microsoft has a skilling initiative in South Africa to train 1 million people in AI and cybersecurity.
Okay.
So, and that is South Africa. Recently, Google just announced that they're trying to offer Nigerian students with their pro version of Gemini. So we need more of this. So we're going to have public-private partnership, and our Plutos were actively pushing for this. We want a system whereby we have companies who are benefiting of the data of the Nigerian populace to come together to create subsidized training systems. Because if we're going to put AI in schools, we need infrastructure. We need to create the capacity for teachers.
We need to fix our education system too.
We need to. So, and one thing I like to say is that policy creates markets. So we have a new policy. It is now for us to champion a way that this policy improves everything we're doing. So there has to be some sort of local relevancy in terms of even the education and everything. And lastly, I think, like I said, I talked about policy, which is where we have data sovereignty and regulation, ensuring that our AI models are explainable, transparent, and free of bias. But lastly, the social safety nets. Where displacement is inevitable, we need transitional support. We need agencies to come in because we're looking at the technology that is going to change the landscape of the world.
Yeah.
If we are not participating in it, or we will become beggars. I'll tell you, we will become beggars. So I think that's really what's important.
All right. So earlier this month, I was actually watching Diary of a CEO, and I think one of the episodes actually had Dr. Roman Yapolsky actually on it, and he happens to be an AI safety expert. So he actually, according to him, he said by 2030, many jobs, including coding, might disappear, but the roles needing creativity and empathy, also care will actually remain. Now, I want to ask this question: what jobs do you believe are truly safe in the next decade? Now, before I actually answer that, now when I saw the whole coding thing not going to be really relevant sometime during the I think the summer holidays, a lot of kids were really enrolling in coding schools, and people felt like, okay, that is where tech and everything is going. Children, a lot of parents are now embracing stuff like that. So that is a little bit disturbing. If I'm learning it now and it's not really going to be something that I'm going to be using the next decade, are we not supposed to be worried about it?
So I think so coding has evolved over time, and there's a term that is generally around in just the artificial intelligence world. It's called vibe coding, and it's basically whereby, and yes, before I say anything, the main language of programming right now, it is not Java, it is not PHP, it is English.
It's what?
English.
Oh.
English language. We've gotten to the point whereby we can speak into systems to build websites, to build platforms that we. So I employ, parents, right? I employ everybody that you want to start learning the culture of vibe coding. It sounds like it, and it will be fun for them, right? It's whereby children and people in general speak into no-code developer tools. Some of them like Lovable.dev. There are plenty out there, right? And they build what you want. They can build you the next Facebook. So you're talking into building the next Facebook. So that's like the first thing. But when I think about just the industries that will survive, when we look at humanity, we're very sociable. At the heart of who we are is we are gregarious creatures, right? We want to interact. So if you're doing anything that relates to community building, like so you're gathering people, whether it's through an event, whether it's to have fun, or whether it's to show them, the Niagara Falls or like Rwanda, like you're probably going to be in business for a while. Fortunately, if you're an artisan and you're a craftsman, before maybe we will get robots, you'll be necessary. Like, you're going to plumbing, just those little things that we took advantage of or we didn't necessarily see in a very huge light, they'll be necessary. So that's always important. Then empathy and care jobs. So anything that requires social work, talking to people, mental health care, they're very necessary because that's how we sort of interact with people. Like you don't want to leave a robot telling your old granny that, hey, your drugs and whatnot. So a whole lot of social care will be necessary. Then complex judgment and ethics. So in the rule of law, yes, lawyers can come into debate, but ultimately the person making that judgment has to have some sort of qualities of human nature, which is like critical thinking, empathy, discernment. And so it's important that at the height of, judgment and just ethical industries, we would need human roles. Then, like I mentioned earlier, like speaking English into like computer systems. So these are usually called prompt engineers. So these are people that are able to formulate the best things to tell an AI system to produce the results they want. So your ability to speak to the agents. Then people who can speak 20 languages, right? Because we're still training. There's so many diverse languages. You want a whole lot of people who can speak different languages will be needed, especially at that Africa core, to build LLMs, which are large language models that understand our dialects and how our intonations, right? I could say something and I could say the same word and it means two different things. So those people will be very important. Those are like new roles that will have to come out. Then if you're an entrepreneur, you will always find a way, right? You would create job, buying and selling. If you, as long as humanity lives, people want to buy clothes. People want to buy goods. So if you're into the art of buying and selling, keep at it. Your hustle is very needed in this time. And yeah, I also mentioned the Nigeria AI Film Festival. So creativity and arts. I think like that's not going anywhere. It will just really just improve.
And I think in the media world, let me also say this, probably voiceover artists, we are safe.
Yes, 100%. Your voice is going to be very important, right? So, and you might be renting your voice out. So, and then podcasts, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's the new oil right now.
Yes, anything relating to content. Content is so important. So that's why I talked about identity. So content, in fact, I feel like everybody get on your computer and build a personal brand for yourself while living content. Be a thought leader because you're going to be necessary in an AI-based world when they are looking for people to say, oh, how do we go about this or how do we go about that?
Okay, speaking about parents and teachers, now Gen Alpha, Gen Zs, but I think I'm solely concerned about Gen Alpha because they are the ones coming up. So these kids are more or less like growing up really fast and with AI tutors and digital classrooms. So my question is, in as much as this has actually entered the world where everyone is accepting this stuff, what should parents and teachers actually focus on teaching them now so they don't actually fall behind, but actually thrive in, should I say, the whole AI-driven future?
I think so I'll just list a couple, right? And these are some of the things because I'm looking to publish a book with my co-author, Nike Agoreyo. And these are some of the things we're trying to embed into that, especially for secondary school students. So what we want to focus on is prompting and AI literacy. So the same way I talked about the new coding language is English, it's the same thing. You need to teach children how to use AI. Not just how to use it, but how to question it to get the results, the exact results you want, how to spot mistakes, how to understand bias within an AI system and really just allow it not hallucinate. Because AI has this thing whereby over time it begins to give you whatever it feels like. So, but the more you can prompt it, the better you can talk to it, the more it comes out. I think we should focus on teaching our children more critical thinking skills and ethics. The moral standpoint of how we use AI is also very important. So what we use it for, because we're going to have a system of deep fakes whereby you're not sure what is true and what is not true. So how do you create a society that doesn't encourage that? How do we create a society whereby, we're thinking, oh, if we use this, and I do think that we'll think about technologies to sort of block that. But imagine the social media age and something comes out and it spreads so fast before it's validated as truth. So it's important that the kids who are growing up are thought about the ethics of using this technology. And then just basic human skills. You're going to have to learn how to communicate, how to collaborate more than ever. You know, you can't afford to be an island where there are artificial intelligence systems. Then negotiation as a skill. How do you demand more for even your intellectual property, for your IP, your voice, your your looks, like and empathy at the heart of it.
I feel like in as much as you are teaching most of these children, it also starts as from you as an individual, you the parents and the teachers. Because if you have nothing, you have no knowledge, because these kids are growing so fast, and if you're not careful, you're going to be right behind them.
The average child now is given a tab before he's given milk. So that's where we're going to face, right? So it's important that you because as a parent, you're their first teacher, you're their first rabbi, right? So you're the first person to sort of mold them into the world that we believe best for most of us, right? So yeah, and also learning coding, so hands-on influencing on coding. I still believe that just understanding how the computer works and talks will enable you to do so much more with the system, right? So if we look at the front end website, and this is to go in geek mode, right? It's sort of divided into three parts: the header, the body, and the footer. So you can, when you understand that, you can easily tell an LLM that is building a website for you, make the navigation on the header like this. This is what I want in the body. This is what I want in the footer, right? So when you understand coding to a bit, it's easier for you to build innovation when you're vibe coding, right? Then creativity. This is one of the best times for children to really find a way to express themselves through art. Let them play around, let them design, let them bring that design into AI to enhance it. And I think the one I'm most very hands-on is our cultural and linguistic pride. Let's tell our stories, right? And let's offer AI tools that understand our stories and not just the West, right? Because when children are strong in their local culture and languages, they can shape artificial intelligence that respects that. So it's important that we don't forget where we are from, right? And whatever system, artificial intelligence systems we're building also recognizes and understands that. It is very important just moving forward.
Okay, then, before we go, if you had to summarize in one sentence, in the workplace, just as I said, the topic for today is AI more of a threat to our job or a tool to reshape the way we work for better? Summarize everything. What do you have to say?
I think ultimately it's a threat to the people that do not adapt, right? We must humble ourselves to understand that when change comes, we have to adapt. According to Charles Darwin, he said it is not the smartest or the strongest that survives, but the one willing to adapt. So it's obviously a threat if you're not willing to adapt. But if you're willing to adapt, it is a tool that can turn you as a solopreneur or like an individual into a magician, right? Into someone that conjures things just by speaking it out, right? And we go back to the book of Genesis, and I think that's what our father was doing. So ultimately, being a Christian that I am, I see this technology, enhancing just what we can do and how we can experience life.
Wow. This is like one of the most enlightening conversations I've ever had, and I'm so thankful to you. Thank you so much for coming through. AI is no longer just a futuristic idea. It's here. It's shaping the way we live and we work. The big question right here is not whether AI will stay, but how we choose to adapt, just as he said, innovate and also grow alongside it. A special thank you to our guest, Venn Oputa, who happens to be the Chief Intelligence Officer at Pluto's Lab, for sharing his expertise and also helping us unpack this critical discussion. Thank you so much, Venn, once again. And to you, our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, the future of work is not just about machines replacing us, but it's also about how we embrace technology to become more creative, efficient, and also impactful. Until next time, my name is Nana Abina. This has been Chat Circle. Ciao for now.